Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Saturday, October 24th, 2020. We have quite a few different impacts going on over the next couple of days. For today specifically, we have some precipitation moving into the northern half of the geographic area, specifically Idaho, Wyoming, and dipping into northern Utah, with low relative humidities over northern Nevada and very low relative humidities over Utah with strong gusty winds. So this area in lighter browns is wind gusting 35 to 50 miles an hour. A very windy day today in Utah with slightly lower gusts here in northern Nevada. On Sunday, very cold air continues to move through the Great Basin with continuing showers over eastern Utah and southeast Idaho. And we also have continued gusty winds over the southern tip of the Great Basin with RHs below 20% and again up to the 50 miles an hour. And over Nevada, slightly lower wind gusts, but still pretty windy and dry. Temperatures drop into the 30s and 40s on Sunday in this area highlighted in blue. Then on Monday, still very cool temperatures for most of the region and continued very strong winds, 35 to 50 mile an hour over far southern Nevada. So we have a lot going on the next couple of days. Very strong winds are the main concern over Utah and then dropping into the southern Great Basin Sunday into Monday. For smoke this morning, just seeing a little bit filtering in from these fires in southern California, across southern Nevada, and into southern Utah for today. 24-hour precip is shown here. Just precip beginning to move into Idaho. This will increase over the next 24 to 48 hours, and no lightning with those storms. Initial attacks have been quite light. We just have ongoing fire activity on some of our fires in Utah. 30-day precipitation totals are shown here. The observed amounts on the left showing the best precipitation having occurred in Idaho and Wyoming, and the percent of average here on the right. Still pretty dry over eastern Idaho for what they expect normally in October, and of course very dry for Utah and Nevada. ERCs are still pretty elevated over eastern and southern Utah, where the air mass has been dry for quite some time with warm temperatures in place. This all will be changing over the next couple of days as cooler temperatures and precipitation move into some of these areas in eastern Utah, but southern Utah will still stay dry through this whole event. And ERCs are still above historical records for the time of year over northeast Utah, and still right around the records over southern Utah. So this morning's satellite is showing that large trough in place over the northern Rockies and northern plains here, bringing that moisture into Idaho and into northern Utah. So we can see that moisture moving through Idaho, northern Utah by this afternoon, and we do have high risk issued for those gusty winds over Utah and eastern Idaho and eastern Nevada. Taking a closer look at where we're expecting that precip, maybe a quarter of an inch, tenth to a quarter of an inch expected over much of the central Idaho mountains and some of the lower elevations here. Higher amounts possible over western Wyoming up to maybe closer to a half an inch or so, or maybe even more. And as that precip moves into northern Utah, expecting it to stay mostly over the higher elevations, again maybe a tenth to a quarter of an inch expected. And very windy out there today, especially over eastern Utah, along the higher elevations here. Northeast Nevada, also winds will be gusty, and then along the Snake River Plain. But of course, the relative humidity is quite a bit higher up there. For tomorrow, that low really digs deep, further south anyway, bringing that low pressure center kind of traveling through eastern Utah, eastern Idaho and eastern Utah, dropping temperatures significantly across the entire geographic area. Out ahead of that, however, we're still expecting very strong winds over southern Nevada and southern Utah with those gusts up to 50 miles an hour. So we do have high risk issued for those areas tomorrow, even though the temperatures are coming down quite a bit. So precipitation continues on Sunday, mainly over central and eastern Utah. Lighter amounts for Sunday, maybe between a tenth of an inch would be pretty good, tenth to maybe a quarter in some of the more favorable locations. And winds still very strong on Sunday, even over Utah, although the higher relative humidities of precip won't pose a threat for fire so much. But where the air mass is drier over southwest Utah and southern Nevada, the high risk has been issued for those areas. And also some fire weather watches are out from the Weather Service as well. On Monday, the low continues to drop further south into the southwest, keeping temperatures quite cool. Maybe a little bit of moisture returns to the north, and winds continue across the southern tip of the Great Basin. Temperatures on Monday, again, very cool for the time of year, and certainly quite a bit cooler than we've had over the last couple of days. So down into the 30s and 40s and then 50s in some areas across the south and west. The winds, however, the big story for Monday, with very strong winds over central and southern Nevada as that low drops into the southwest. So it's still very dry, even though temperatures are quite cool. Relative humidities are dry, and those winds are very, very strong. 3-day precip totals shown here, kind of highlighting best chance for precip, or the heavier precip is over the higher elevations of southeast Idaho and western Wyoming. But looking for, again, a good chance of maybe that 1/10 to possibly 1/4 of an inch over some of the areas in central and eastern Utah. Possibly some very light showers across southern Nevada. On Tuesday, that low remains over the southwest, but we will begin to dry out. Temperatures will stay cool on Tuesday with continued possibly gusty northerly winds. And on Wednesday, the ridge rebuilding across California will allow the temperatures to maybe begin to warm a bit, but remaining under that slightly northerly flow. And on Thursday, that ridge starts to move in a little bit further towards the coast over northern California, so temperatures will continue to warm, sunny skies, light chance for any precip, and lighter winds by Thursday. More of the same into Friday, warming, drying. So the end of the week should be calmer with slightly warmer temperatures, but pretty wild weather before we get there. So 7-day precip totals are shown here. Again, not changing too much from the 3-day, as we're expecting most of the precipitation in the short term. Then the extended forecast, taking us into the first week of November, has us right back in that above normal temperature trend, especially for Nevada and western Utah and western Idaho, and below normal chances for precipitation. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.